So about Michael Jordan,
Hello
how
and
you live
welcome
off
to the
fun?
Basketball Addicts Podcast. And today is going to be a hot takes podcast because we're just like, oh, I want to talk about this. Oh, I want to talk about this. Oh, I want to talk about this. And they're all like so different from each other. So we just said, screw it. Let's just call it a hot takes podcast and let's go at it. Today is Chris and I are going to fight for a little bit. It's just going to be like brotherly love. And we have very differing opinions. And we're just going to talk about basketball. I'm probably going to rant about Frank Vogel's coaching ability at being so negative that I don't really think he's coaching the right sport. Just a little hint, volleyball or anything. Maybe, curling. Frank Vogel would be a real good curling coach. Or
Cricket?
bowling coach.
Cricket?
Bowling. Hey, oh, yeah, cricket. Yeah. I mean, it is. We just got some things to rant about that are just spewing in our veins. That just has to come out somewhere. So, Chris, are you ready to start World War II? 3?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I just want to let you guys know that even though we are a LeBron podcast, this first thing that we go over will not be truly about LeBron. He'll come in later. He has some highlights and some possible lowlights.
Big games. Big games from him.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But are you ready to get a WWE body slammed, Jason?
Are you ready to get WWE body slammed?
I feel like this is gonna be a true back and forth, and I'm completely ready for it. I want all the toxicity. I'm here for it.
You're gonna get all the smoke today. I'm just letting you know.
I ain't got no cancer.
Oh my gosh. So, we're beating around the bush. We're not really telling you what we're talking about. Chris, what do you think about that Nets Philadelphia 76ers game?
Finally, the chickens have come. I'm just kidding. So my big thing with the 76ers Nets game is that so let me get a little backstory right now. So James Harden went to the Philadelphia 76ers. I was very critical about it. And then they started winning games. And Jason was like, oh my gosh, look, these teams are great. You know what I mean? But my whole thing is that they haven't played any true competition yet, which is true. They played the Knicks and the Timberwolves. Those are not playoff teams. I mean, they have no big bodies to throw. What's up?
Karl Anthony Towns? Like, what do you...
Just let me go. I figured it out.
Sorry,
I figured out. I got that. Karl Anthony Towns had a pretty good game. I think he was like nine. He didn't have as efficient game as Joel Embiid that game. So Joel Embiid for those two games get high praises. James Harden gets high praises on those two games as well. But when they played competition is where they ran into a problem. So as I'm watching the Philadelphia 76ers game versus the Nets, I noticed something. Jason, you want to know what I noticed?
Oh, please tell me.
Is that, as with most people in the NBA, it's rhythm-based for Joel Embiid. Once you knock him out of rhythm, he is not as efficient as he normally is. And that's very true. When they threw Andre Drummond on him and they got him fouled, Joel Embiid shot 19 free throws that game, had 27 points. James Harden had 11. They shut down James Harden and shut down Joel Embiid because they never let him get into rhythm. Yes, I've saw a couple moments where it was just like, damn, he looks virtually unstoppable. But as soon as he in transition, they have no transition defense. So the Nets ate him up that way, completely ate him up transition-wise. And then when it came down to the post, Joel Embiid normally eats down there. But if you keep throwing Drummond down there and he's not there to score, he's there to just be a Dwight Howard, with Jokic type. You know what I mean? He's really just to be a Dwight Howard, remember with the Lakers when he was like, okay, I'm gonna bother Jokic. That's what Drummond was to Joel Embiid that game. He really just bothered him, and he gave him foul after foul after foul. I wouldn't say it was a mental thing. He never got in his head because I believe that Joel Embiid is pretty still trap minded at this point in his life, at this point in his career. But he never let him get in rhythm. Constantly shooting free throws gets you out of rhythm. Whether you believe it or not, it does. I mean, yeah, you're scoring points. He shot 19 free throws and he made I don't even think he made it. He might have made maybe 13 of them. I'm not completely sure with the number off my head. That's pretty decent, but he missed a lot of them. So there's a lot of points that he could have gotten to and then kept his hot streak going. You know what I mean? Like, you get hot and you get fouled, then you know what I mean? Then you start cooling down a little bit sometimes. In most cases, he couldn't get hot. He couldn't get completely hot. We've seen 30-point explosions from him, 40-point explosions from him. We got 27. That's not bad. That's not truly like a bad performance. He's actually really efficient in that game as well. But the secret was you still slow down Joel Embiid by fouling him. I'm not saying that it's a hack in Embiid. It's not a hack of Shaq. It's not a hack of Ben situation. But you stop the rhythm. And that's how they beat him. Besides the fact that KD and Kyrie were just on a mission that day, 27 and 25 points from two of your leading scorers. James Harden only had 11. They threw a body at him and shut him down as well. He had 11. He couldn't get going. Joel Embiid couldn't get going because he couldn't get in rhythm. I think in the first quarter, or it was maybe the second quarter, first half, Drummond had like 3 fouls and had to be sat out. When Drummond went out, Joel Embiid started to get a little bit going, but they started throwing bodies at Embiid, like more than one body at Embiid. I think when Drummond went out, they threw Claxton and Bruce Bowen, started throwing those two guys at Embiid. It's really just the big body and slowing down rhythm. That's how you beat the 76ers. I've figured it out. And transition wise, if you have a strong enough offense, transition wise, they can't do anything about it. They don't have transition defense. How many threes did Kyrie just hit coming up the court? Like it's they have no transition defense. And Harden can't guard Kyrie, and Kyrie can't guard Harden. So I mean, it's like both ways. I'm ready.
Is there anything else?
No, I'm good now. Now I'm ready for your rebuttal now because I just dismantled your team. Go ahead.
Yeah. Chris, March Madness is around right now, right?
Yeah.
Is the NBA season a 1-game tournament?
No.
Oh, it's a 7-game series. And okay. So you're literally choosing the one game that they've lost since being back for 6 games.
It's the only competition they faced. And that's facts.
Really?
The
Cleveland Cavaliers?
No.
Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Lauri Markkanen, not enough size for you?
That's a lot of size.
Okay, then what are we talking about here? Minnesota Timberwolves have Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, and Karl-Anthony Towns on the same team. Is that not talented enough?
No.
The New York Knicks are literally Tom Thibodeau's defensive. I play hard defense every day, and nobody plays here if you don't try on defense. Not good enough defense for you?
Mm-mm.
Mitchell Robinson, not a good enough defensive center for you. Mo Bamba, not good enough defensive center for you. Andre Drummond has never been known a day in his life for being a defensive guy. You know why he has to foul Joel Embiid? Because he can't guard Joel Embiid. Okay, you literally it's just this James Harden. A lot of people hate James Harden because he flops. He gets in the rhythm. Oh, he travels all the time, even though people just don't know how footwork works and the gather step works. Oh, I hate watching him play. He doesn't average 35 in the playoffs. He sucks. He's terrible. You know, it's not like he dragged that Rockets team with him and Chris Paul and nobody else. PJ Tucker bench. Clint Capella is about to be on a bench. Like, what do we like? He carried that team forever. And then we get to this where they're looking dominant against everybody that they're playing against. It looks like they're playing against G Leaguers. And they get to the one game where Kyrie Irving's playing 50% of the games. You know he's missing the next 13 games out of the next 16, right? They might not even make the playoffs, or they might make the play-in, the Nets. It's just James Harden is so negatively thought of that we are microscoping onto one individual game to make all these grand gestures and not just like trying to turn off the TV when he's dropping everybody and crossing everybody and looking like Houston Rockets James Harden. Joel Embiid is so ridiculously special. These guys are superstars above. These are both number ones on NBA champions playing on the same team. They are so opposing forces. One's an amazing perimeter shot creator, and one's the most dominant interior force in the NBA. That duality wins championships. And you found you found 50% of Kyrie Irving that's playing 50% of the games. You got lucky you played that game. They lose and he's not on the floor. Nobody cares. Nobody. The Brooklyn Nets are like not going to be a factor in the playoffs because Ben Simmons can't. He sits out for a whole year and his back still isn't right. So he's not going to play in the playoffs. Okay, when Kyrie Irving's. Who's guarding James Harden? Who are you throwing at him? Nobody can guard him. You can't. Andre Drummond's not a defensive center.
No, he's not. Huh?
I like how you said Dwight Howard, and you really tried to pick a guy who's really good defensively, but he's not that guy. He's been a great rebounder and a post player his whole career. Like it's just one game. We're overreacting to one game. This team is the best team in the East. They got one guy who's a superstar defensively that they can throw off of anybody other than maybe a center and a power forward like Giannis. I'm talking about Matisse Thybulle here. You can throw him on Kyrie. You can throw him on DeMar DeRozan. You can throw him on whoever's the best player on the other team other than Giannis. That's it. But on the team that's not Giannis, he can throw him or Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton, and it's going to be a tough night. And those guys are not amazing scorers. And then they have to go against Joel Embiid inside. Dominant interior force. And you got to deal with James Harden shooting it from the parking lot. And Tyrese Maxey has really shown that he plays perfectly off of James Harden because he's another guy that can break down the defense. Because a lot of people don't really understand about basketball is the 3-and-D. I've talked about a ton. The 3-and-D players are dying slowly in value. Mm-hmm. It's becoming more about who can create when the ball's in their hands. They're slowly moving in that way, and how many can you have on the floor? Tyrese Maxey's a really good. I'm really fast. I'm really quick. I can break down the defense, and I can shoot the 3-point shot at a low 30% 3-point percentage. So having all, and then you got Tobias Harris too, mid-range guy. Space hit a 3.
Great value, J. Cole.
Yes, he can't guard Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant is amazing. Kevin Durant is one of the greatest players I've ever seen. I love Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And I would be with you if it's next season and Ben Simmons is healthy and Kyrie's playing all these games. I'd be like, well, that's a lot of offensive firepower, and you can throw Ben Simmons at James Harden. Yeah, next year, this is going to be a good matchup. But this year, there's two guys that are superstars that won it really, really badly. James Harden wants to prove everybody wrong. All the Charles Barkleys, everybody, right? Joel Embiid wants it, right? Oh, you're not better than Giannis. Giannis owns you in the playoffs. He wants it. They want it. They want it bad. They love being the bad boys of the NBA. And that's what they are. They embrace it. That's they're united on that. And I honestly, we shouldn't be overreacting to one game. It's one game. You caught what the one night where everybody wanted to watch that game. Kyrie Irving and KD are superstars. Ridiculous, right? But you're not going to get Kyrie for 3 games in the NBA's playoffs, in an NBA playoff series, especially against this team. So, and because of those reasons, I completely disagree with you. I think this is the best team in the East. There is no team in the East that's like, wow, this is so special. It's like the Bucks don't have PJ Tucker this year. They don't have Brook Lopez. They traded for Serge Ibaka. I don't know if you watched Serge Ibaka lately, but he looks like he's aged. Like he's starting to look a little more or less athletic than what he's used to look. Mm-hmm. It's just they're not as good as last year. The Miami Heat are more of a regular season team. And there's no amazing team in the East. And to have 2 guys that are just peaking and really want it, this is my team for the East. It's going to take some team that's like, the Bulls would be a tough matchup for them. Because, yeah, you can throw Matisse Thybulle and DeMar DeRozan, but who's guarding Zach LaVine? Mm-hmm. That's where things can get interesting with the Bulls. And you got Vucevic, who's a bigger body to throw at Embiid. He's not going to shut him down, but it's not like you're throwing, Clint Capella at him. You're not like you're throwing Mason Plumlee, Montrezl Harrell. You know what I mean? So that's the Bulls could be a tough matchup, and you have Lonzo Ball to throw at Harden. Mm-hmm. It's a team that matches up really well. So if that gets to them, then this might be one of those where great team, bad matchup, might get upset. But obviously the Bulls have to be healthy. Lonzo Ball isn't healthy. Caruso isn't healthy. They're not
True.
healthy right now. But if they're healthy, they could cause a tough matchup. But I can't think of anybody else. And the Nets, I would be with you, Chris, if Ben Simmons wasn't being a little baby. You know what, Ben Simmons. Honestly, Ben Simmons could go shit in a can. Like, you're an NBA athlete. You get paid to play basketball. You sit out for 60 games, 4 months, and you can't have your back ready to play in an NBA game?
Mm-hmm.
You are so out of shape that your back, like, what were you doing? There was no way you weren't playing in an NBA game. You weren't dunking, trying to dunk on Joel Embiid. You were sitting on your couch. Why are you not working out all the time? Like, how did that happen? Chris, how did that happen? Like, you are a professional athlete. Show it. Like, gosh darn it. It's not that hard.
You know how it happened?
So Ben's oh yeah, tell me, Chris.
Because Ben Simmons doesn't work. He has no work ethic. None. Zero. You remember we had this fight before. You was like, I can't say if he doesn't work or not. He doesn't work. This is why. But I don't want to, I don't really want to pinpoint that right now, because at any other time I would be so willing to just jump onto Ben Simmons, just jump.
Uh-huh.
But I'm trying to defend the team that he's on right now.
That team's gonna be so tough next year. Seth Curry, Patty Mills.
That's another thing. Seth Curry had an amazing game. He did. He had a really good game. He's actually like really efficient, really good shooter. I think he's ranked right now as well with like the most 3 points or something like that so far, or on this team or something like that. Like, he's really good.
They're gonna miss Joe Harris.
Yeah, that would have been a great. Yeah, for sure. They're gonna miss Joe Harris. They're gonna miss Ben because of his defensive abilities.
Yes.
I still think that things change. Like, the world is changing right now again. As far as like the vaccine mandates and things like that, it could change in the next month, because they're getting a lot of flack for it right now, especially in New York. How like Kyrie can sit in the Barclays, but he can't play on the floor. That doesn't make sense. He can sit in the Barclays, but he can't play. So your 3-game, argument may come to an end, because it might. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's gonna change it for one person, but it could change.
Man, what if Kyrie is healthy in the playoffs? That's a tough team.
That's what I'm saying. When Kyrie plays, he makes a difference. He just dropped 50 like 2 days ago. I mean, yeah. Like 2 games ago, he dropped 50.
Yeah.
That's scary.
I would still take the 76ers, but it would be a great series.
I would take the Nets.
Well, we're going to disagree, but
of course we're gonna disagree. That's what this is about. We don't do it often, but when we do, it turns into a fight. So I'm just gonna tell you right now that I don't agree with what you have to say. I respect your opinion, of course, wholeheartedly. You're my guy. But the Nets, I know what I've seen. Not saying that this could be a one-off. I'll watch a little bit more, maybe, you know what I mean, and see if I can break down the the offensive scheme a little bit more with like the next game. But like, just off the names of I was just like, they haven't played anybody. When they finally play competition, like, yeah, it may be. It's the one in a million time that Kyrie plays, but they lose. They lost by 33.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens, but the one time you play competition and you just steamroll all these like Cavs are not subpar, but Minnesota, Knicks, those are subpar teams. That's why when you were telling me about it, you was like, "Oh my god!" And I'm just like, they haven't played anybody. I have to see them play somebody. And yeah, I picked the one game where they have you could say they had an off game, but they played competition and they lost, like true competition.
I don't even know if you want to call them true competition. They're not. Do you know where they're seated?
Oh, they're like 24 and like 25. They're barely making a play in right now.
Yeah, they're the 8th seed as of today.
Yeah, they're like 24 and 25. And the 76ers was like 40 and 25 or something like that. 40 and something.
We're gonna see.
Yeah. I just looked at it. I can't quite remember.
We're gonna see some like historic ridiculous games down the stretch from LeBron and Kevin Durant trying to carry their teams.
Yeah.
Like they're both. Did you know that him, Embiid, KD, and LeBron are? Wait, no, him. Let me check. I don't think KD is tied now that I think about it.
That's a
But I know
great leeway.
LeBron and Giannis are tied for points per game, and I think KD's up there, and so is Embiid.
Okay,
They're all
so
tied.
is LeBron the leading
Yeah,
scorer? Is it
Embiid.
KD, or is it close? Because I think KD has like 29. What is LeBron averaging right now? Because I think LeBron is the leading scorer right now in the NBA after the 50 points.
Giannis
After
has
the
29.7.
Mhm.
Joel Embiid has 29.7. LeBron has 29.7, and Kevin Durant has 29.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's gonna be a race, and I think LeBron and KD are gonna get the shots up.
Yeah.
I think LeBron's gonna get it. I think LeBron. And this is a good segue because I'm literally gonna lose my shit. I think LeBron James, for starters, really wants the scoring title because his team sucks. And I would just like to say, Austin Reeves is not an NBA starter. I don't even know if he's an NBA bench guy. He needs to go to the G League. Like, he doesn't defend. He doesn't shoot overly amazingly. He doesn't
Sure.
shot create for himself. Like, why is he in the game? And then I gotta watch Stanley. Like, I was watching the Wizard once from play the Wizards. They had the lineup Russell Westbrook, Stanley Johnson's, 10-day contract. Guy should be at the end of the bench, not starting. End of the bench.
True.
Austin Reeves, like Russell Westbrook and Malik Monk and LeBron as center. It's like, what is Frank Vogel is literally the worst coach of all time by like 5 gazillion miles. I don't understand how he hasn't been fired. I don't understand what are the Lakers doing? Like, you are wasting greatness at the end of his prime in LeBron James. Wasting it. You're just throwing it out down the drain to say, thank you. I'm going to throw this shit down the drain. Malik Monk's not getting more minutes than... It's just... Austin Reeves sucks. Stanley Johnson is a defensive guy. They literally don't do anything. None of them.
Yeah.
They suck. They have nobody over there that they put on the floor that is good with LeBron James. LeBron James has to... No wonder he's losing his mind scoring-wise because he's like the only guy playing. Might as well just be the LeBron James show. Every game he wins, the Lakers don't win. LeBron James wins the game. He's literally dropped 50 twice in the past week because his team sucks so badly.
Yeah.
It's amazing, Chris. Like, I just... It's Frank Vogel sucks as a coach, and obviously Anthony Davis is not healthy. But if I'm LeBron, I'm forcing my way out, and I don't care who says shit about it. This is a dysfunctional team. The fact that they haven't fired Frank Vogel, I don't care what I have to do. I don't care if I have to protest. I don't have to care if I got to pull Ben Simmons. I do not care. I gave you a ring when you guys were terrible. I took you from Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart to a ring, okay? You're welcome. Enjoy that ring, and he needs to go. Because, dude, we're witnessing the end. This could be Michael Jordan's 1998 season where everything goes downhill from here. We don't know when that's coming for LeBron James. And we're witnessing the end of a GOAT just like putting on a season where he might be the scoring title at year 19.
Yeah.
And his team might not make the playoffs with Anthony with a former MVP and a guy who was being considered as the NBA Finals MVP, where we're talking about top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is going on? What are you thinking about that? Because I'm just literally...
It's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous. LeBron is playing at an all-time high right now. Like we haven't seen anybody in year 19 perform like this, especially offensively on that level. And speaking of which, that 50-point explosion was ridiculous. He really put the team on his back and carried him and was like, "Come on, little guys,
yes.
we're gonna win this game no matter what."
Yes.
And so before I get into that, since we're on the LeBron James, thing right now, I do want to talk about the end of that game where he passed up on a reverse layup. and pass it to Carmelo Anthony, who then bricks the shot, and then they lose in double overtime. I mean, not double overtime, overtime to the Detroit Pistons. So after watching that and listening to all the critiques, media is stupid. It's been stupid. NBA media
Yeah.
sucks. It's the worst media
Yeah.
ever. They look at it from one angle and just run with it. Now, after listening to what LeBron said about how like he overshot it, and then watching it afterwards, like a couple times just to make sure that that's what actually happened, he overshot it,
Mm-hmm.
and he had no choice but to pass out of it because I forgot what his name is. He was coming around. He beat the one guy off the dribble and was gonna lay it up, and then the guy came around and was gonna block his shot. So he had no choice but
Yeah.
that was the best possible thing. He got crucified in media, got crucified on social media, and they were talking about like he's not the best player ever. But to make that call midair
What?
with the clock ticking does that not say like best player ever to you? I mean, like, okay, wait, I
I
overshot it. Let me just look. Let me survey the floor real quick. Carmelo Anthony's open at the corner. Like, I mean, yeah, he had to dribble past the guy, and Carmelo probably would have normally hit that shot because he was hot coming into that shot, but he missed it. So that's just what happened. Now on to Frank Vogel. His defensive, I mean not his defensive, but his lineups have always been trash. The only one thing I hated was that they had Anthony Davis healthy and LeBron James was playing at an all time great level, as always.
Yeah.
Um, and they just, I mean, like a lot of people say like, oh, he shouldn't have got rid of Caruso. I mean, like, yeah, you was trying to improve. You got Russ. Um, Rust's experiment is not truly working out, but then again, it may be working out. But the way the media portrays it, every time you watch it, it's like look, Russ just dropped 30, but they're like, oh, he had 8 turnovers, bad game, Russ, but he had like 30. So it's like, especially if you're going to shoot at such a high level like that, you're going to have a lot of turnovers. I'm normally really critical of Russ, but since watching everything and then listening to media, you get really the image of players gets really skewed. You start to think like the
Yes.
media, and the media doesn't know anything about the sport of basketball. But you have to watch with your own eyes. So Russ is not as big as a problem as I thought he was in the beginning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's all just lineups. So basically,
Yes.
it's like you have 2 of the highest usage players on the team, and you try to figure out how does that work. So what you do is, of course, you start LeBron and you make Russ come off the bench. Like, how hard is it just to tell him to, hey, come off the bench? From what I hear is that he's been willing to do, to go into a diminished role. It's not like he just has like such, you know, he could possibly like pull a Carmelo in with Portland. Like they was like it was like he refuses to start. I mean, he refuses to come off the bench, and he came off the bench for Portland. So really, what you need to do, you need to have Russ lead that second team. Stop putting these G leaguers in with LeBron and expect to win games.
Mm-hmm.
Stop putting these 10-day contracts in with LeBron and expect to win games. Why have we
It's
not moved?
ridiculous.
I mean, like we don't have any trade assets right now, of course, but like there had to have been something we could have done at the trade deadline. Staying pat was not the best thing to do. Um, and that's just something we're gonna have to live with as Laker fans, as LeBron fans. But to be in this great, then like your second prime is what we can call it, as LeBron, and not
Mm-hmm.
be close to a championship and might barely make the play in. That's not
Mm-hmm.
great. That's not great. So I stand with with what Jason said. In fact, like I would hate to see him force his way out because I was so critical of James Harden when he did it. But at this point, I mean, this could be the beginning of the end. We don't know how much longer. You know what I mean? Because we're all like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is it. Father's time group is catching up, and then he just he's not jumping as high, but he's still jumping. Like
Yeah.
when does it turn to Michael Jordan? Like when do we start seeing like, okay, he's not
Washington
the same
Wizards,
player
Michael Jordan.
anymore. Wizards Michael Jordan. When did we start seeing that? We're like, damn, he's not the same player anymore. And then like
Yeah.
he has like that explosion of youth, and he's like snatch blocks the ball off the backboard, and then like, oh my god, it's Michael Jordan again. Okay, but then like you're like, wait a second, this still isn't Michael Jordan that we know. Like this is an
Mm-hmm.
MJ. This
Yeah.
is Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with a lot of things you said, and the biggest thing I agree with is it makes me so sad that Michael Jordan was so loved by the NBA media, given every pass whenever he made a mistake, always given the benefit of the doubt to. This is Michael Jordan we're talking about.
Yeah.
He might have made a mistake last night, but this is Michael Jordan we're talking about. Always prefacing that he is amazing and he deserves a pass. Why? Because he was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
He was the most dominant player in his era, and he's one of the GOATs.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they both made major mistakes in the NBA Finals. This is Magic Johnson we're talking about. This is Larry Bird we're talking about. Kareem. I'm sure he made multiple mistakes. This is Kareem we're talking about. Every NBA star has been loved by the
Completely.
media.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody throughout the history of time, Chris. And it makes me so sad that we're living in an era with the greatest basketball player of all time, and he does not get the benefit of the doubt. Like, do you really think you know more about basketball, what to do in that situation, than him?
One of the greatest basketball minds we've probably ever seen, close to Magic.
You could put us together mentally, Stephen A. Smith, all of ESPN, put all the rest of the sports media talk, all of NBA TV. Now NBA TV would have a chance with like Isaiah Thomas,
Yeah.
but we'll leave NBA TV out of it because they do have some legitimate good basketball minds. You put all of them in there, they do not count to half, a quarter, a tenth, a 25th. They are 1% of LeBron James's mind.
Yeah.
They're out here critiquing. Like, there are some players that might not be as mentally, they might be great players, but they're not like always making the right decisions and like just ridiculous basketball. Like Kawhi Leonard is an amazing player, amazing defender, great at individually doing his job, but he is not this basketball god at
Worst decision
IQ-wise.
maker. Worst decision maker.
Nobody in the world would ever question Magic Johnson and his ability to make a decision late in game and win the basketball. But for some reason, the top 5 passer of all time gets criticized. The greatest basketball player we've ever seen gets criticized. The only player I've ever seen to get treated like that is Wilt. Wilt Chamberlain.
Ooh, good point.
Wilt Chamberlain was so amazing, and the Bill Russell people who wanted to build the narrative stomped on Wilt to lift up LeBron, to lift up Bill Russell, even though he has the scoring skill of Dwight Howard. They never scored more than 19 points per game.
Yeah.
In a season. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
Lifted them up, you know why? To match their narrative. That's the only comparison. And, there's going to be something that comes in the off season that's going to be like a really great series that goes into depth and all this type of stuff that you guys definitely are going to want to check out. But, this is comparable to that because love Michael Jordan, lift him up, got to beat down everybody else that contends with Michael Jordan, our narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the age of new media that we're living in, and it's sad. It makes me sad. It makes me sad that we don't have a NBA crew, ESPN crew following around LeBron all the time. When does LeBron get his documentary series?
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't LeBron been sat down for an E60 for like everything that he's ever done in his career? How many times did we get that with Kobe, talking with people, getting really in-depth with conversations? Why isn't LeBron being really loved as much as Mike? It's just, it's so sad, Chris.
I think he had to produce his own documentary that won more than a game, where he was starting like in like high school or whatever. I think he produced that himself.
That's sad.
But yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. One thing that I have noticed over the years is that it's to be comparable to Wilt in like this sense is that everybody else who's a great player during this time period, KD, Steph, and anybody else who may come out, they're always lifted way above LeBron. Way above.
Yes.
Like
To
they
be
get this,
honest.
they get the Michael Jordan treatment. They get the
Mm-hmm.
the Bird treatment, the Magic treatment. Meanwhile, LeBron is just like looking as second fiddle. But it goes back to what I always said about Will is that when you don't understand it, you hate it. When you
Mm-hmm.
can't fathom it, you hate it. When you can't
Yeah.
understand how 6'9", 250 can be a pass first, but he can dominate you offensively whenever he wants. Like whenever his mind goes
Yes.
okay into attack mode, he can dominate you for 50 points. It's not a one off. This can happen every night if you wanted to.
Yes. He's so special.
And is you can't fathom that because that's not normal. You're 6'9",
No.
250. You're not supposed to be able to, steamroll and move like run as fast as a gazelle and just run over people and just dunk over everybody. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to be one of the greatest, like possibly one of the greatest basketball players, possibly one of the greatest passers, one of the greatest basketball minds we've probably ever seen. You're not supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
that. You're not supposed to
Yeah.
be that. You're supposed to You're a small forward. What you're supposed to do, you can get in the post if you want to. You can knock down some threes if you want to, because Kevin Durant has allowed that to happen now because of how special and unicorn like he is.
Whew. So special.
Now you can look at that. You can look at that position like that. But normally that's not what they're expecting you to do. You're supposed to be a big. You're supposed to be a big and act like a big. But LeBron doesn't act like. LeBron is a guard in a big's body.
That's a fact. He
It is
plays
just
every position,
true.
center through point guard.
True.
It's ridiculous.
And it's just why can't we just accept it for what it is? Why do we have to do the step on to lift up things so much?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to diminish one person's greatness to lift up another? Why can't we just hold them to the same esteem, to the same mental, and just enjoy basketball for what it is?
Yeah.
It's great. It's one of my favorite sports. It's the only sport I watch really, and it's and we just
Ditto.
need to we need to respect the players. We need to respect greatness. Like,
Yes.
why do we have to? I mean, like, yeah, the Bird Magic thing saved the NBA, right? For sure. Some people may put
Mm-hmm.
Magic over Bird, Bird over Magic, but truly, they're so equal in play and so equal in, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're equal players. Why do we can't step on one to lift the other up? We have to hold those in the
Mm-hmm.
same regard, the same esteem. Just like Mike and LeBron, like you can go, okay, 6 straight rings versus like what is it, 4-6? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting.
Four and
I'm
six.
blank.
Yeah.
4-6 record. You throw that in his face all the time. You say he's not the clutchest player ever, which he pretty much is. Like he has a high. He's like what 60-70% on like go ahead and like game winning shots. Like it's something ridiculous like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how could you say he's not clutch? You try at every point possible to diminish this guy, just to make sure that Mike is seen as Black Jesus forever. Like this is basically what it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. It's all about the way things have been kind of shaped for everybody, right? And it's just the people that we've had on TV, are just other than in my opinion, other than NBA TV. I really like NBA TV. I respect Isaiah Thomas, and I like Grant Hill. Really knows the game. Chris Webber, like those guys, really know basketball. I
Yeah,
that that's very respectable. TNT is more just funny.
yeah. It's a lot of
Shaq says
controversy.
it best.
Like Stephen
Mm-hmm.
A. does. I mean, like I think he played basketball a little bit, but he doesn't know basketball. He claims to know everybody, but
Yeah.
nobody really likes Stephen A. Just like nobody likes Skip.
Mm-hmm.
Only one that people
Skip
respect
Bayless is terrible.
is Shannon. I like Shannon.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Yeah,
I think he's funny.
he's funny. Definitely,
Because of
he's
Vogel.
entertaining for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah, I think
these
it's
are
also a thing with like the minds. I think, I think sometimes the sad thing is sometimes people are more into that kind of basketball talk, not like
hmm
highly intelligent. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the sad thing.
I like watching
Uh
when Kobe, RIP Kobe. I liked when he
oh
broke
my
down games.
gosh,
When Kobe broke down games,
that
that's
was
that's a different
gold.
level. That's what LeBron should do.
Yes.
LeBron should break down games.
Have you ever seen? I think it's like the Kobe movie or something like that, where Spike Lee directs it.
Mm-hmm.
and it's one game. In like he's describing and breaking down everything, and I'm thinking, oh, it's like a quarter in. It's like 2 minutes in of him just talking about literally everything that's going on in the court. It's such a high degree of knowledge. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I don't know. I forget what the movie's called, but it is gold
Yeah.
on like quality of basketball knowledge spewing out of his brain.
Yeah, he had a
And
show on
that's
ESPN Plus too. I think I forgot what it was called
mhm.
though. It was like I forgot what it was
Peyton Manning
called.
did the same thing with football.
Yeah, and he just breaks it down. Peyton Manning
DTL
has
or
a great
something like that.
something like that. It was on ESPN
Yeah.
Plus. I remember that. I remember watching it like him
Yeah.
like literally in depth, like just
Yes.
okay, this is what happened. This is watch this. Look at how Kyrie does
Mhm.
this, and just taking it apart.
Kyrie's so special.
Yeah,
Kyrie's so special.
he is. He
Kyrie's
really is a special
ridiculous.
guy. R.I.P. to Mamba.
That's a fact. I really wish he was still around. His mind is just so special. I really think that I really think he's I really think he should be the logo. Like I know I've talked about it before, but you know, like nobody represents basketball in its most purest form than him.
Yeah,
Because like we've said before, LeBron and Wilt and Giannis, Michael Jordan, they are demigods athletically.
hmm
Kobe is very good athletically, but he's just such a ridiculous work ethic and basketball knowledge and true love of the game of basketball and just does it all the right way. I really think he should be the logo. So about
yeah. They
yeah,
won't move Jerry West. I think Jerry West agrees too. Jerry West thinks the Kobe should be the logo.
I wouldn't be surprised since they drafted him.
Yeah, Kobe should definitely be the
Yeah,
logo. They should change the logo to purple and gold, and he should be the logo.
yeah. Jerry West is also brilliant basketball mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jerry West, I think he is the clutchest shooter of all time. I think so.
He's very known for it.
Yeah.
And that's funny because he won like one NBA championship and went like 9 times or something like that.
Yeah. But nobody talks
Something
about Jerry West though. Nobody diminishes Jerry West. Nobody
Him and Elgin were good.
nobody throws him down and goes, "You suck, Jerry. You only won one ring." No. Hey, look at his jersey is in the rafters. He's probably one of the greatest Lakers of all time, and they let that happen. LeBron will go down as the greatest Cavalier, the greatest Miami Heat player, and the greatest Laker of all time, and like one of the greatest Lakers of all time.
Yeah, I was about to say.
His jersey will hang in three different rafters.
I think the greatest. People debate about the greatest Laker of all time. I think I understand that it's like about who's been playing the longest, but Magic Johnson played for the Lakers his whole career, and is the best player. Is a better player than Kobe. Like, is he a better player than Shaq? No. Is he a better player than Kareem? No. But they didn't play their full careers.
Yeah.
I just, he was Showtime. He blew up the Lakers as a franchise. He's in my opinion, he is the greatest Laker.
You think he's the
I
greatest?
think it's Magic.
Magic is the greatest Laker. I can't argue that. I can't argue that he's not. But I will say that I think that Kobe's impact on the Lakers is close. So it could go either way for me. I would personally, I would say that Kobe might be the greatest Laker of all time.
Oh wow, we disagree, huh?
Yeah,
I'll go with Magic.
I would go with Kobe. No, just a Shaq, but
He didn't play his whole career.
Yeah,
Orlando, Miami. Don't talk about Cleveland, Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, Celtics.
Those
are later years, Shaq though.
Those are the down bad days.
Yeah. Kobe would be the greatest. Kobe would be the greatest Laker in my mind, though.
Okay. Well, we will agree to disagree on that one.
For sure.
So, what do you think about this NBA season? Like regular season, these teams. What are you thinking about this NBA season? How about this? I'll go team by team, and we can just talk about what we think, or we can just freestyle it and talk about whatever we think about NBA teams.
Well, I had a spiel ready.
Okay, go then. Go.
So this season has been the season of ups and downs, and it's just been consistently like fluctuating. Like it's very hard this season to just pin down what's going to happen. For example, Me and you both, we came into the season high hopes for the Lakers. We would have never imagined that the Lakers would be fighting for a play-in spot right now. Never. Did anybody see? I mean, like we saw, like you saw the Bulls being this good. I jumped on later, but like, that wasn't expected. Miami being the 1 seed, that wasn't expected. You know, like I was like, the Bucks not really reaching their potential right now wasn't expected. Everybody was, I mean, like outside of me, of course, because I was like, it's hard to do it again. And you were saying that the window was closed. We both were pretty hard. We were pretty harsh on the Bucks at that time, and I think rightfully so. Because everybody else was like, yeah, they're going to repeat, like they're going to go back, like they're the same team, and I'm like, I don't think they're the same team. And you're like, the window's closed, and I'm like, yeah, the window's closed. Who would have saw Phoenix just jumping out in the West like this? Like I thought the window was closed on them too. Atlanta's playing great. It's really hard to just go and just pin a team down and like, this is it. This is the team I'm rocking with, because as soon as you do that, it shakes up. Like with the whole vaccine thing, Kyrie refusing to do the vaccine. You know, we respect choice here. Him playing like half the season, maybe even less than that, and then James Harden leaving. Who saw that coming? Like, and joining Philly, nobody. That was a big shakeup. That shook up the East a lot. That shook up the East a lot. But we just didn't see that coming at all. Mm-hmm. It's been really hard this season. As a fan, it's been very exciting as a fan, but it's been and trying to look at a team analytically, it's been very hard this season because it's nothing clear cut at all.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be some random team that wins a championship, like just some out of the blue random team that wins the championship.
I disagree with that, but I really do think it's gonna be a playoff, some matchups.
Yeah, it's gonna be some weird, random out of the blue team that's gonna go to the finals out of nowhere. Just like because the thing is that we're still awaiting a Jamal Murray return, which could possibly happen. So that's another shakeup. That's another shakeup.
Yes.
Like,
yep. I'm very underrated there, but I'm glad you brought that up.
Portland, who saw Portland being this bad? Like, who saw CJ? Who saw CJ and Dame breaking up this season? I thought it was going to happen later down the line a little bit. I'm happy they did, but like, Dame might leave next year. They're not making the playoffs for sure. Like, he's probably out of there. Like, who saw all this coming? Who foresaw this?
It's pretty crazy season.
It's been a crazy season.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And there's, my team, I still have the same team. If Draymond Green's healthy, I'm taking the Warriors out the West, and I'm going to go with the 76ers probably coming out of the East. Because it's just Clay's back. He's getting more games to come back and get healthy. James Wiseman, I watched him play in the G League a few days ago. He's looking very athletic. He's going to be coming back soon. And that's where things start getting that super team over there, Golden State. Draymond Green's healthy. I'm taking the Warriors to win it all. Draymond Green's not healthy. It's a toss-up.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because if Draymond Green's not healthy, it's really an amazing playoffs. I don't think Draymond Green's going to miss it. I really think that they're sitting him and they're just trying to play it safe and be like, all we need you for is the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think is going on. I think they're strategically doing it that way. But that's my team coming out of the West. I still think the same way about the Suns, as I've always thought. They don't have enough shot creators. They're a good team in the regular season. But, if you're not good enough scoring to really expose them, if you don't have enough shot creators, you're not going to beat them.
Yeah.
Like, the Utah Jazz would get slapped. The Dallas Mavericks, all they have is Luka, slapped. Denver Nuggets, all you have is Jokic, slapped. Minnesota Timberwolves, you have nobody that you guys are so inconsistent and terrible coach. You have great talent, slapped. Like now, Chris, I highly doubt it's gonna happen. If Kawhi Leonard and Paul George come back and that team has all those role players, they could be interesting because they got Covington, they got Powell, they got Reggie Jackson. They got one of the Morris twins. Like that team's got a lot of hot. They got Luke Kennard. The team's got a lot of high-level role players on that team. If they come back, it could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know who's going to come back when, but the Lakers, they suck. Sadly. LeBron. So the Suns can beat everybody but the top 3 teams. It's just they're the 1 seed, and they would get the Warriors in the second round.
I feel like Memphis would be an interesting matchup for him.
Yes, the Memphis Grizzlies, bro. I don't believe in the Jazz. I don't believe in the Mavericks. I don't believe the Nuggets without Murray. Like the Memphis Grizzlies could really be the team that everybody's like, they're a young team. They're not going to do in the playoffs. They got a lot of things that work. Jaren Jackson's. They've got a lot of guys over there. This team could make it to the NBA Finals on the right road. And as I think of it, literally at this moment in time, they have way too many shot creators for the Suns. They would slap the Suns.
Yeah.
Because Ja Morant can shot create. Desmond Bain can shot create. If Dylan Brooks is healthy, he can shot create. Jaren Jackson can shot create for himself. Kyle Anderson's slow and methodical, but he can shot create for himself. And you got Tyus Jones. That I'm telling you. If I do power rankings in the West, it's Warriors 1, Grizzlies 2, Suns 3. Fucking hell, Utah. The NBA sucks so bad that I have to go Utah Jazz 4. Denver Nuggets 5. Dallas Mavericks, I don't believe them at all. 6. The Timberwolves 7. And the rest of them suck. They just need to be healthy. I mean, even Anthony Davis and LeBron James could do damage if AD is healthy against the right matchup. But the Suns and the Grizzlies, where they probably would face, I'd be like, it's gonna be tough. But they gotta get in, obviously.
Doesn't he have like a thumb injury right now? Isn't that what he's out again? Isn't the thumb injury?
Davis, I don't know. He's
paper mache.
It's just
made of paper mache.
So, what are you thinking about all the things I just said?
I can see that. I definitely, I would love that that we mentioned the Grizzlies because they're definitely a sleeper, and that's what I'm talking about. A weird random team is going to win the championship. Like I can see it happening. Like it's going to be some out of the blue. Memphis is going to have a really great season. Series against like one of the top teams and steamroll the West.
Yes,
Ja is playing out of his mind right now. Everybody should be afraid of Ja because if he doesn't get it this year, he's coming back next year. Worse than he was this year. Like, and I'm not talking about worse in a bad way. I'm talking about worse in a good way. Like, he's a bad man.
Yeah. Yeah, like they're a tough matchup for Phoenix. They really are. Because Ja Morant's got it here. He's got that basketball intelligence. So it's not gonna be like a I do think the Warriors are at a different level when Draymond Green's there because that's literally a super team.
Yeah.
Coached by the greatest coach in the NBA right now. So also, congratulations to Greg Popovich, the most winning coach of all time.
1,000 wins, right?
Something like that. He's the all-time winningest coach of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He, in my opinion, the greatest NBA coach of all time.
Definitely. I can agree with that. I feel like he maximized the talent that he was given.
Yes.
And but it wasn't like super bad talent anyway. But still, he maximized the talent that he was given. He had Tim Duncan, Tony Ginobili. He had Bruce Bowen. He had Dennis Rodman at one point. He had David Robinson, Richard Jefferson. Yeah. He maximized the talent he was given.
Yeah, he always changed his scheme depending on his actual talent of his team. That's why. I mean, his team is they've literally had a G League team over there in San Antonio. So last 5 years. So, and the DeJounte Murray show. DeJounte Murray is nice. Have you watched him play? He's really nice, really nice. I also think the Wizards have a potential nice future. Beal, KP, Kuz. That's a 5 to 6 seed in the East. I feel like next year they will be respectable if they get a point guard from free agency.
I love that you're talking about the future right now because I was about to say the future of the NBA is definitely bright. It's bright right now. And honestly, if I had to pick a team right now to lead the NBA into the future, it would be Grizzlies. Grizzlies have everything. They're going to dominate this league very soon. It's between
the future.
The Grizzlies in the West, Bulls in the East.
we live in such a league right now that everything's so fluid.
Yeah.
At trades, free agency.
I feel like these two teams could dominate the league in the future. Like going forward, like I would say probably 2-3 years. These two teams will be like the top two teams in the NBA.
I would probably go with. I think Atlanta will eventually figure it out in the East.
They're close. Yeah.
They're
really
starting
close.
to heat up lately.
That's scary. That's scary for the rest of the NBA because remember they ran into the Bucks and almost beat the Bucks. So that's scary for the rest of the league, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're starting to get things together. They just still can't guard a wooden pole defensively. Anything you think about the really crappy teams in the West? Portland, San Antonio, Kings, OKC, Houston.
Okay, so it's Portland. Hello, Portland.
Hi.
I feel like you guys should get the Dame jerseys ready. I don't know if you're gonna put the thank you or if you're gonna burn them like LeBron's jersey, but just start running them up now. That man's out of there.
Can you even burn the jersey? We sucked for 12 years. Hooray! He carried us for 12 years. Hooray!
This jersey
what are you
burning.
Complaining for?
All I want to say is LeBron did it first. LeBron caused the first jersey burning.
I never did it. Never participated, but we knew. I'm sure everybody knew somebody who did that at one point in time.
Yep.
Yeah, we're from Cleveland. So.
I don't know if you go thank you jersey burn. Just get the markers ready or get the lighter fluid ready. One or the other. You're gonna need one. He's leaving.
Yeah.
Minnesota. So I'm normally really critical of Minnesota. Very, very critical of Minnesota, but not for the talent, but for the front office and just the decision making there. And I'm still gonna be critical of them because you have Anthony Edwards, you got D'Lo over there, and you have Cat, and you're just wasting. Cat is playing amazing right now, just wasting these guys. Anthony Edwards is playing amazing right now, just wasting these guys. I don't know what needs to happen. I don't know if maybe the owner's just like, as long as we got money, we're good, because he doesn't really care about basketball because you're not winning.
You know what I think? He's the worst owner in the NBA.
I would have fired everybody already.
The Celtics literally just retired Kevin Garnett's jersey before the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He should definitely be in. Kevin Garnett would definitely be in like at least 2 rafters for sure. Minnesota definitely needs to fix that. Sacramento is looking a lot better when it comes to that, as far as their front office, because they did make some good moves. And they've been drafting well lately. But other than that, they've just been trash. Minnesota's trash in the front office. Please fire everybody. Whoever you are, owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, fire everybody and get a whole new staff. Because you're not maximizing the talent that you have there, and that's a problem. Please do better. Just do better. That's all I'm asking. Just do better. It's not hard. Just do better. Just do better. So I think that just about wraps it up. So we have some exciting news coming soon. This episode will probably drop Thursday, I believe. Around at the same time, noon. We have a couple other videos to record as well. So thank you all for listening. I'm Chris Muhammad, and we are the Basketball Addicts. Peace.